Okay. Sweet. Looks like we're live now. So I just want to thank everybody that's been waiting. And today we're joined by concept artist Min Guen, and we're really pleased to have him today. And he's going to be showing us a lot of what he's been working on recently. And just glad to have him. He's been a long time user of Gravity Sketch and does just some great work. I want to say right off the bat, if you're asking, if you want to ask any questions for myself or for Min during the live, feel free to just shoot it in the live chat, and I'll be monitoring that, and I can shoot questions over to Min when it makes sense. But yeah, feel free to ask away. And then if you want to go back and watch this will be available as soon as the live is over, so it doesn't go away after the live. And if you want to see any of our live other live interviews, just follow our Gravity Live community interviews playlist on our channel, and you can see all of our other interviews that we've been doing. So anyway, I want to thank you, Min, for joining us today. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, it's great. We have another video with Min. It's a recorded interview, and it shows more of his process. So if you're really interested in more specifically in how Min uses some of the tools that he does, feel free to go watch that as well. We'll have that linked in the description, as well as Min's social platforms as well as in the description as well. So without further ado, Min, thank you for joining us. If you want to just quickly share with everyone who doesn't know who you are a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, sure. My name is Min. I work as a concept artist. It's been 8 years now, mostly focusing on films, video games, TV shows, stuff like that. Some of the projects I was fortunate to work on was Brave New World, Snowpiercer, was Lost in Space, and Gears of War. Yeah, and just that's short. Based in
That's
what I was
fine.
gonna say. Okay, I'm based in Vancouver, Canada.
I
And
understand. I
yeah,
understand. Yeah, it's sometimes when you do interviewing, it's just like I forget who I am. No, I get it. It's all good.
yeah, it's kind
Um,
of weird of talking about yourself, you know.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
It really is. I understand. Well, thank you, man, and it's really great to have you. And you just do excellent work. And please, after this, go follow Min's links and just see some of the stuff he's been doing. And it's just really cool work. And so, in a little bit, we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into some of the latest projects that he's been working on that involves Gravity Sketch, but is much larger than that, and involves a really cool, I think, maybe emerging sport in the future. So. But I just want to ask you first, before we get into some of that stuff, man, is just how did you find concept art as a career? Because I'm always interested in how people find their way into the industry of concept art and really in design in general.
Right. Yeah.
It really is an interesting pathway, and it's not really the same for everyone. So I'm just curious what that pathway was for you.
Okay. Concept art is not something I discovered early on. Um, I I've been drawing since I was like, I don't know, as long as I could remember. And even like had drawing as part of a curriculum at my school and college, and then naturally I was like very into fine art and things like that. A little bit back, like going back. I was also grew up in Ukraine, in the little city Odessa. So, but the interesting thing about that is that, you know, in post-Soviet countries, the academical drawing is so strong that you will find like really amazing like teachers who will just teach you stuff, how to actually like, you know, fundamentals.
Wow.
So I've been doing like drawing faces and like, you know, like this, um, like I learned oil, not oil painting, but like painting in general, so like early on. So I always wanted to be an artist and or like some designer, sort of like be involved in that sort of field. But um, the also one thing is that thing is about growing in the small city is that I still fall into in this generation where we sort of thought that um, your degree matters. You know, I find it
Mm.
like
Yeah.
I find that trend a little bit less these days,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still like in that older generation where like you have to have a high degree. So the only university I could go to that has sort of like design involved was architecture, and I actually uh, grew like I liked it. I was very passionate about it, but just give you a backstory, right? So I
Yeah.
got this like architecture degree, and I remember working as an architect for a little bit, and uh, I was like doing this interiors and blueprints in CAD and all that stuff, and I was like, where do I get to do like castles and mega structures and all that stuff? So I was like missing something, and I was like very like not happy with like what I was kind of doing, and I was like, oh my God, is it gonna be my life? Like
Mm-hmm.
doing architecture because
Mm.
there was uh, one thing about myself is I actually think that I'm quite conscious person, so I know what I want, you know,
Mm.
and when I'm not happy, I sort of like try to analyze it, and that's maybe it's like one of my superpowers, maybe because I kind of can self-diagnose myself in a way.
Mm.
So,
It's important.
um, yeah, it's very cool, and I'm very lucky to have that, ability, or I don't know how to call whatever you call it.
Self-aware, just about where you're
So,
at.
yeah, self-awareness, and I remember watching the Minority Report, and also getting like inspired by the futuristic architecture because I was very passionate about architecture,
Mm.
but I wanted to do something more, like more creative than just doing interiors and very stiff, things. And also, to be fair, like architecture in Ukraine is not very fun, and it's such a and I also noticed that it's such a local profession that your surrounding and your geography is everything. Architects, like say you're an architect in Ukraine, I can't just go to say UK and just like, hey, I'm an architect, can I get a job? No, I think you also have to have a license or something like that. So I figured early on that it's a very local like profession because you have to build your clientele
Yeah.
that mostly the clients who surround you in that particular location. If you're famous enough, yeah, you get to travel to Dubai and like or like other countries or China or anything like that.
That makes
But
sense.
yeah, so I also knew that I wanted to do something that will open up, let me travel, see the world while still doing the design job. So again, I watched the Minority Report, and I remember I played massive, sorry, Mass Effect
Yeah.
2, and I was very inspired by Sid Mead designs. And
Yeah.
I started to look into that. I was like, holy crap, who's that designer? Uh, he also like Sid Mead, right? Like he
Yeah.
also like get to design and combine architecture and something that is so creative. And I started to look into like what is that profession, concept art, um, and then through the discovery and digging deeper, I found Feng Zhu. Also, he shared quite a lot of tutorials and shared a lot of knowledge about that. And,
Yeah.
I went to his school, and that's basically how it rolled.
Wow. So you went to Feng Zhu uh, Design Academy.
Yeah, yeah, it was like a 1 year course. Um, and after that, I started working at Crytek, and the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. It seems like everybody's story is different, obviously, right? But there is a kind of common theme where you're not where you're not really satisfied with where you were before, and somehow concept art or entertainment design sort of lets you explore these kind of childlike, um, you know, desires and passions that you've had since the beginning. It's almost like you're rediscovering those things, um, and finding out there's an actual outlet for that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. Um,
Some people don't discover that, you know, like they just do what they do because, their parent told them to do it, and then later on it's kind of like very damaging for people. And I have a few friends like that. For example, they just continue pursuing architecture because that was what you're supposed to do, right? And then later on, a few years later, when I'm already working as a concept artist, they just admit that, man, I'm not very happy. And the thing is, because I did it because of my mom wanted me to finish that degree, but I actually want to pursue music, for example, or something like that. But again, it's never late, I guess. But it's important. It's very important to be aware.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think that's why it's important to have kind of these conversations as well, and learn. And that's why I like asking that question, is because, you know, you don't never know who's going to be watching this later. If they're looking for some kind of guidance, maybe they can glean something from that experience. Maybe they're exactly where you were, or they're in something that they maybe don't 100% enjoy, feel like there's something more that they have to offer. So, well, thanks for sharing that. And uh, I just want to move a little bit forward into your thoughts on the industry of art and entertainment in general. Obviously, right now we're in a pandemic sort of time around the world, and it's
mhm.
changing how we work, professionally. I mean, the entire Gravity Sketch team obviously is interacting mostly remotely, and we're getting things done. We're talking with a lot of other design teams that are having to optimize their pipeline for a remote sort of setup. So how has that, from your perspective, how has that affected the entertainment and concept art industry, from your side?
Um, I, I think the video game industry got even better. I feel like, and the film industry was a little bit shaky at some point, obviously because you have this like production stuff that definitely slowed down. And I remember working on the project, and because of the COVID, it got canceled, and um, a lot of reasons. And
Yeah,
but I feel like it's already catching up a little bit. The thing about humans is that we're very adaptable. Like if, like say, it definitely affected, but entertainment industry, I feel like, uh, what I can say for sure is that, uh, in the future, I feel like the degree won't matter that much, and I feel like your skill will speak louder. Um, and We're kind of moving away from this, like, um, you know, what school you went to. Or I actually, in my career, I never been asked that question actually.
I was gonna say it kind of feels like that's already kind of a thing now in a way. Is I mean, obviously, there's still like the best schools to go for a certain thing, but at least in and from what I've observed, it's like either you can do the work or you can't, and that's kind of the bottom line.
Yeah, but the basic stays though.
Yeah,
But I'm talking about not just like you're talented, or you're good at what you do. I feel like sometimes like attitude is also very
mm,
underrated. Like there are people who are, say, not the most talented, or the work is not super senior, but the person is so good to work with, so easy to work with, that I keep recommending that person
mm,
because I know that that person is reliable. And I think like in this whole pandemic, it's very important to have that skill, like communication.
yeah,
as an artist, we like to just like, be, you know, just just shut all the doors and just do it yourself. But then like you have to be able to communicate, and yeah, and that's definitely a skill that will never be, that'll never go away or stuff. I don't know.
No, I mean that's so true. I've heard that from a lot of other professionals. What you just said. I mean, it's so true. You can be the best, most talented designer, artist, but if you're really hard to work with or you don't have a good attitude, personality, you're not going to have as many opportunities, because it's just people don't want to work with you. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense for sure. Um, so I want to ask you then. Uh, so from what you said there, um, you said that it's actually gotten better. I was curious, maybe more specifically, how it's gotten better. Like, what are some things that you've seen that have become? Is it just because everybody is just did it somehow unexpectedly light a fire just under the artist, and just now it's more like focus and maybe in a weird way more inspirational now that you're like working from home, so maybe you're like walking around, on walks or something, you're outside, I don't know, like what
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah. I should have been more clear about that. I
Yeah,
feel
no
like,
worries.
um, I mean, I really can't really speak, for global things, but like
Yeah,
it's just my personal opinion.
right.
I just feel like the TV shows there's more demand for TV shows,
Yeah.
because of the whole streaming thing, and you can't really go to
Mm,
cinemas and all that stuff. And surprisingly, TV shows are really good lately. Some of them, even documentaries on Netflix, are really good.
yeah.
Someone's creating them, right? And same story for video games. I feel like, now that we're all locked at homes, it's like, what else is there to do? And
Yeah.
I'm joking,
No,
of
no.
course not.
No, there's some truth to that, I think. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean that totally makes sense. I mean we're at home now, so I mean it's how do we reach people? And obviously, we've all seen a lot of movies that are just going straight to streaming. So that's completely changing the. You mean even just the shipping out the sort of going to the movie theater stage of the movie process. Even though that's still kind of happening in some places, it's just yeah, I can totally see what you're saying. That the content has been pretty good, and I
yeah,
think it's I think the situation is forcing some unique ideas to come out. So, um, but
and
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. And also, like, I can say from personal experience, right now I'm working for, say, Microsoft Coalition. Even now, we're like, since we're all working from home, then we're basically freelancers, right?
Hmm.
Since you're hiring freelancers, then who else is outside, our location? Who else
Right.
can we consider for who would be ideal for the project? So I feel like it might actually open up more possibilities for those who are, not in America or North America, or,
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a case in Exhibit A right here. Gravity Sketch is based in London. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I've never met anybody on the team actually yet physically,
Oh,
but
you
we
didn't?
work. Yeah, we work on a
Wow.
daily basis together, and it works out great. And so, um, I think that's going to probably become more commonplace, even after things kind of die down with pandemic. A lot of companies are realizing there's tremendous benefits to remote working for sure. I mean, for the reasons that you laid out. Um, I want to ask you, kind of moving more into VR a little bit.
Hmm.
Obviously, you use Gravity Sketch in your work. At least some of your work, you use it as a part of the exploration and design process. What was the story or process of discovering Gravity Sketch and maybe even VR? Maybe it wasn't Gravity Sketch in the beginning. Maybe it was something else. What was the kind of briefly the story behind that, and realizing you could use that as part of your workflow?
Yeah, sure. I was very skeptical in the beginning about VR, to be honest.
Mm.
I was like, never really consider it as a tool because it kind of felt weird to me. But it's one of the things that I think that everyone should try at least once. And then it's only when you in VR, only then you realize how amazing it is.
It's true.
Because when you know, like even when I see my own time lapse that I record in VR, I realize that I only see it in the flat screen, so it's not as impressive as myself seeing it. Um, and I think it's just very intuitive way to design, and I discovered it through Jamandra Revive and Sergei Grichenuk.
Mm.
Yeah, these guys, they just ahead of
Yeah.
the curve, and
Big Gravity Sketch users.
yes. And sometimes like I really love people like that who are feeling like pioneers, and they
Yeah.
just show you that, oh, it's possible, and then kind of inspire you to try it out. And I was skeptical for a long time. I was kind of like, no, it's not going to be something I will use, until Jama actually did a workshop here in Vancouver, and only then I saw how fast it is.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit, and it was like, man, you have to try it. You have to try it. And I did a mentorship with him, and there was a scene where I wanted to do a lot of characters in action, and he said like, no, you have to have VR for that thing. So I kind of, okay, I trust you. So I got that, tried. I was like, wow, this is it. This is it. It just clicks,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it went. And since then, I've been using VR in my professional work as well. To be fair, I will use whatever tool that will get me there most efficiently.
Yeah.
Let's say like, because there are things that Gravity Sketch really excels at, but for say like big landscape scene, I'll probably use a Blender.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the instancing thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you do in Gravity Sketch, everything is so fast, but then when you export to Blender or any software, every object becomes unique, so it makes the scene very heavy.
Yeah.
Until I will figure out how to go around that, I will,
Well,
still combine two.
Yeah, it is a unique kind of note I think for us as well. I think I'm not sure as to the extent it's been discussed, but I think someone did ask in the community about having some sort of instancing function within Gravity Sketch to maybe lighten up the load in a scene within Gravity Sketch, and maybe that can be exported out, into as FBX or something like that, and it'd be brought into say Blender as an example. But yeah, I mean that's something that we've noticed too, is that by no means do we as Gravity Sketch pose ourselves as the one-stop shop for all 3D, and
Mm-hmm.
We just want to make that creation, the ideation, the idea part of the process so much more just easy and fun and unhindered, which is what we've observed a lot in the community. But back to what you were saying too about about VR and sort of adopting it in the beginning. It is often with new things, it needs to be almost represented to you or shown that it can be possible, until you can kind of connect the dots that, oh, I can do that, I can use that for this, and it starts to spawn ideas. And that's something that we've noticed too, is that
Mm-hmm.
Obviously someone who uses Gravity Sketch can be like, oh, it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is going to help you in this way and this way. But from someone on the outside looking in, if you've never used it, especially never used VR before, those are kind of some big leaps, and so making that process more clear, less foggy, and just like more digestible is what we've been working on too with a lot of our training content. And it is hard to imagine VR on a screen. It really is one of those things you have to experience. And that's something I've had just from conversations in my own life. Just, have you ever tried VR? And they're like, oh, I tried like a cardboard thing once, and I was like, it's not the same thing, And so I totally understand what you're saying, but well, I just always like asking that too, because it's everybody comes from a different place, different angle, and different experience finding VR, and it's really finding its way into a lot more industries now, which is really cool. And I think we'll get to a little bit later. I'd love to hear a little bit about some features and things that you would like to see in Gravity Sketch. But I think we should just go ahead and move into what you've been working on lately. I know that's like the real visual kind of candy that people probably been waiting for and stuff. So I'll let you maybe start going into that. You've been working on this project, and maybe some people watching have seen it already. But you've been designing this exoskeleton mech robot suit. I'll let you go more into detail and talk about the kind of the story behind it, and talk about really what it is. But
okay, I've been very fortunate to get a chance to work on real mech. Yeah.
That's how I would say it. Yeah.
I get goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's like it's one of those things, like, I never really would even dream about it, because my biggest dream was like to work on like some films and all the things, but I'm like, this is like something that I was like never really even imagined. Not to brag or anything like that. I'm very like thankful and really grateful for this. So what happens is there is a group of Fury and Exa Bionics. Jonathan Tippett is one of the co-founders of this team. It all started like 12 years ago. A bunch of engineers just challenged themselves in junkyard, like machine wars, and they challenged themselves to create robots. And there was like this competition, I think, and they had to create a robot within 48 hours.
Wow.
So they created this like walking spider that it's pretty famous. It's on that was on Burning Man.
Yeah.
So they did that. They created so the team has formed, and they did that. It went viral, and then they were like, "What else can we do?" So they created this Eat Arts Foundation here in the center of Vancouver. Fun fact, I used to live right there. So I saw this mech so basically it's like, even if you look in the window, you would see that mech just walking, and I thought like, holy shit, what is that? What is that, crazy alien invasion or something like that?
Wow.
And it was very crazy, and I saw it like, okay, I just left it at the back reserve in my brain. It's just like, okay, that's something that I'll never be a part of, but I'm super excited and super curious about it. Started to research it and just knew that thing exists somewhere where I live. And after doing a bunch of personal projects with robots, I created this ape mobile. It's one of my recent personal projects. And the cool thing is, one of the friends of Jonathan Tippett just showed him my work when he was visiting. Like, hey, there's this pretty interesting Mech thing. Do you want to look at it? And Jonathan saw that, oh, there's some some concept artist who's also lives in Vancouver. I need to talk to him, you know.
He probably
Um,
said, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. We need to get this guy right now."
no,
I'm
it
sure you're
was
dumbing
like
it down a little bit, probably.
we met
Yeah,
we met and we just talked, just wanted to know each other
yeah,
because like just two guys, and clearly I show passion in like in robots, and and he's also like very excited about his thing, and he said like, Min, too, can you do some concepts for me, um sort of just as a pitch for next sport that I will be doing with this robot. So it's gonna be like a racing mech sport game.
man.
So I was like, sure, I can also like design like panels and all this stuff, and I can do it in VR. And it was like, wow, super cool. Like, so I knew right away that I'm going to use Gravity Sketch for that thing because
Wow.
it's like for what the Gravity Sketch is strong at, right? The transportation. So yes, just recorded a video, and you know, the and as a thank you, he basically let me pilot the mech, and it's a weird feeling. It actually
What
feels
was
like
that
a
like?
gorilla. It's a very interesting. It's out of outside. It's thinking outside the box for sure. Because usually, typically, conventional mech, you would imagine that you'll have a chair, and sort of
Right.
like do this.
Yeah.
But it's actually angled 45 degrees, so you're like doing this, and
Yeah.
the arm actually replicates that movement. The only tricky part is with the leg, so you kind of need to bend your leg. Um,
Interesting.
but it kind of feels like a gorilla. It's like if I do
Wow.
this, right, the
Yeah.
mech will stand as well. I mean,
Wow.
I could probably show
Yeah. Let's see some stuff. I know people are probably dying to see what it looks like.
share. Do you see the video?
Yes, we can see it.
Oops.
It went away. There. Yeah. There we go.
Why? It froze for a little bit. Okay. So this is us in the mech range. Jonathan is piloting this mech. As you can see, you're like kind of like tilted off in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for some reason, I think the video is kind of choppy. For some reason, it's like every 4 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's this.
Hmm.
Maybe it's the streaming or something. But we're seeing the images. We're seeing what it looks like and everything.
Oh, but you don't see the movement?
Yeah, it's like every 4 seconds.
Oh no, that's very unfortunate. But anyways, you can probably see it on Furion. Oh,
Yeah,
prosthesis
we're gonna
anti-robot
yeah we're
YouTube.
gonna link
We're
to
gonna
that.
link it. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
that's just insane. So you were designing like the panels and stuff for it. So what was is that like the next phase for this? Are they going to actually like take your design and flesh out the like the colored paneling, that goes in between the the structure there?
yeah, the goal was to create something that was definitely doable. So we were heavily inspired by the desert buggies,
Yeah,
right? So you
I
know
can see
how
that.
um, it's like we were inspired by the extreme sport transportation. They look very sexy and
Yeah,
very aggressive in a way. Definitely wanted to have that racing feel
yeah,
to it. So how we approached it is the team provided me with the CAD model, which is the rails and the frame of this thing. which later on I used as a base to design on top using Gravity Sketch. Is it still choppy if I show this?
It's less choppy. This looks pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's fine too. We're gonna link all this too. If any of you guys watching wants to watch this later too, feel free to follow the links. But we can see it.
Awesome.
Nice.
So yeah,
Wow.
as you can see, the black is the cab model,
Yeah.
and I have like some buggies as a reference on the side. So just trying to
Wow.
experiment, see what works and what shapes. I mean, time lapse makes it like as if I knew what I was doing from from start. But no, I actually cut out a lot of errors.
Wow, that's so cool. So you're just
Magic
like
of editing.
finding interesting shapes, ways to accentuate it seems like you're trying to find the balance between design and accentuating the underlying structure.
Yeah, and I also always keep in mind that the pilot is the focus. So I needed to lead the graphics or the elements. So it's always like your eye look there,
Yeah.
whether it's through lighting on top or like through graphical design. So that took a minute.
Yeah.
Uh, but
And so that was that process. So obviously you're designing the panel, and did you do any post processing work in the for 3D at least, like in Blender, or was it just you exported this all straight out from Gravity and then started exploring materials after that?
Oh no, I always finished work in Blender and a little bit of Photoshop. But yeah, usually I would export this to Blender, play with textures. I will do booleans if I have to,
Hmm.
and I think I did there in this piece. Yeah, some bevels, and
It's
that's
just
nothing too complicated.
it's just probably one of the coolest things I've seen, and I was watching the video, and I'll link to the video in our description as well. But I can't remember his name, the guy that started it, talking about the story behind sort of.
Jonathan Tippett.
Yeah, yeah, just talking about, it was always his dream. I mean, similar to kind of how you said you saw that crazy mech outside, and you would never thought you would ever, be a part of that or be involved with something like that. But it was kind of like almost like a pipe dream. It sounded like it was a similar story with him as well, where it was like a childhood thing and all of that, but then I mean, someone has to do it, right? I mean, it's I mean, it's not too far out of the realm of possibility. Mech
Yeah,
suits and it being like a sport, competitive.
yeah.
So I just think it's so cool. All these amazing
When
people
we,
coming together.
when I met him, I knew right away that we're both like two geeks that just we're passionate about what we do, and he's just very passionate about his robot, and I'm also passionate about like all this design whole thing, and uh, yeah. But this project of his and the team's 12 years, man, that's big commitment.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
ask with the development time, the before this all came to fruition. So it's 12 years.
yeah.
Did you do
So
that image as well? Because I saw that on the website. Did you do this kind of like?
no, this is not mine.
Okay,
This is not mine.
gotcha.
I will be posting more later. There's other versions that I did also, but I can't show it yet.
So do they have other like architecture designs, like other sort of? I'm trying to think of the word. Yeah, I guess architecture concepts
Mhm.
that they're playing with that they want to try and develop in the future.
Yes. That's all I can share right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm so sorry.
No, no.
So what I can say is probably like, this whole thing is customizable. It's just
Yeah.
what I did, right? It's just panels. and the body kit. So in a way that you can get away with different designs that you apply on top was like it. The difference, and you'll probably know because you have industrial design background, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like this things the cost is also a big part
yeah,
of of realization, and oftentimes you have to work with what you have. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah. That makes
and
sense.
yeah, and also like it would also depends on the like who's the sponsor and who's the investor, and we can always customize it. Say if it's like, oh, there's gonna be a big partnership with, I don't know, whatever company, and obviously we'll have to maybe adjust towards that. But the tech is there, that the mechanics and the engineering, the heavy lifting is already done. So I was just playing a support game and just okay, let me help you with beautifying this thing in the affordable and like doable way.
So, and that's something I really wanted to find out more about, and I think you seem to have answered it mostly, which is how much was were you using Gravity Sketch for this process? And so you were saying that you were basically given the full CAD for this right in the beginning, and your component was just basically making it look super cool. Would that be a correct way to say it?
Yeah, pretty much.
And did you was the final deliverable to them, like, was it a 3D model, or was it just a series of renderings to show them how it would look, or were they going to take your 3D and maybe fabricate it?
Oh, this is a series of images
Yeah,
that there will be, it's more like, more for the pitch.
yeah,
Uh, I'm again, I should be careful what I say
yeah. No, I
also, but
understand. I understand.
because I'm not sure what I can. But in general, this is, it's a very similar to film
Yeah,
um, jobs that I do. Like
yeah,
in art department, you do pitch concept art,
yeah,
which is not the final thing, but you do a pitch concept that goes to like showrunner, and they just show it to a team, and they either get excited about it or like, no, it's not working, but or we can either use it or not. Sometimes you do a pitch concept that help inspire the whole set, and say the director will help them envision sort of, okay, so the set's going to be this big. Okay, I can build this and this and this. Who else do I need for this project and things like that? Um, yes, it's more of like for pitch, and then the rest is like a lot of like strings they have to pull and a lot of people involved. It's never that simple. Um, Usually involves a lot of people, and depends on. I really hope you will be like this, but you never know.
yeah. I mean, me too. I think so. As I hope so as well. It's Did they experience your design in VR at all, or was it just you showed that the renderings and like this is what I came up with, or was there a VR experience at any point?
Well, with pandemic, it's really not easy, right?
Yeah,
I would be happy to keep like, yeah, sure, come to my place and
yeah,
put on the VR and just experience it live, but
yeah,
unfortunately, no.
yeah. Well, that's
So
super
pitch.
cool. And I just had to find out more about this project too, and that was um, just I really think that this is when I was watching the video, the promo, and the story behind it and everything, and obviously your renderings really made it seem like that, and that's the beautiful thing that a concept artist and that an artist does, right? Is they make things that are conceptual in people's heads, and they make it seem believable, seem real. They make it seem like it could be a thing. Um, and I could just totally see this being a sport in the future, where people are racing these things, battling with these things. I mean, I'm assuming you saw that movie Real Steel. Do you remember that movie with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hugh Jackman? You know, I
Yeah.
mean, why not? You know, it's totally possible.
Exactly. And it's coming back to the same previous thing that I said about, there are people who are ahead of the curve. Same with, Jama, who just introduced VR to me and a lot of people, I believe. The same with Jonathan Tippett and his amazing genius team, like clearly shows that this is possible.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and who knows, maybe it'll create the whole entire movement or like, to start sport or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah, some
I have big hopes, and I really want to see it take off. So I need a link to the Kickstarter as well. So I'll make sure I link to that um, and to all the videos and everything. So anybody watching can go check that out. Um, I'm just reading through some of the comments here. So let's see. Mike Ward Draws says, how much was done on the fly versus planned ahead of time? Um, I'm assuming they're asking how much planning maybe you did before you jumped into VR or before you jumped into Gravity Sketch. Did you just bring in the CAD and start working right away? Did you do any sketching beforehand? What was some of your like initial steps?
uh, I worked right away. I just brought the CAD model
Gotcha.
and started like sketching and experimenting with it.
Yeah.
I think it's because I've been doing this for quite a while, so it's like I have a little bit of like experience and um, also with time I feel like your intuition gets better and you kind of sometimes you can predict things. It's like if you've been cooking for so long, you
Yeah.
probably know how much seasoning you need or how much,
Mm.
what goes with what.
Yeah.
It's the same way,
Yeah.
and genre or sci-fi fantasy is just type of cuisine. Let's say fantasy is like French cuisine or sci-fi is like Italian cuisine. So you
Yeah.
just like try to understand the difference between this and this, and by looking at the reference, I sort of analyze what is the language of the buggy vehicles, or I obviously I had a conversation with Jonathan and what he wants, and that I sort of try to get the sense and feel what he wants,
Mm-hmm.
and try to apply that. It's really not different to
Mm-hmm.
same like cooking,
Yeah.
and I experimented with Gravity Sketch right away, and it wasn't like like I knew what I was doing like from the start. Like I said, I did a lot of mistakes. I had to redo things because I would try to do it with what is that tool? When you just do a volume tool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I play with volume tool because it's fast.
Yeah.
But then once I felt like okay, that's the silhouette I want, I went back, created a new layer, and then did with simple subdivision, low
Mm.
poly
Yeah.
thing just to get that precise
Yeah.
edges that I needed.
Yeah.
So
The volume tool
it
can
was
have
back
some.
and forth.
Yeah. The volume tool can have some artifacts that maybe you would want in a final design.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a great question. I was kind of curious as well. And then you said earlier too. And the answer to this might be obvious, but I just really want to get down to the detail because you said you went. You thought immediately Gravity Sketch was the thing you were going to use for this, and I just want to hear exactly why was it Gravity Sketch that just popped right into your mind for this, not Blender or any other like 3D package to start designing these panels. Why was it?
Mhm.
Why was it VR? Why was it Gravity Sketch?
Oh, because simply this frame, as you can see, I don't know, this frame, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very complex, and I knew that it's gonna take me a while to fight it in Blender, trying to navigate with the 3D cursor, trying to find it while designing it is just, it can be more frustrating. I find, like, honestly, I mostly use Gravity Sketch for speed. It's just so much easier and faster for me to pull and drag things exactly where I want in 3D space.
Yeah.
Because it's basically, it's virtual but
Yeah.
reality, right? So it's like using your hands. I know exactly if I put it here, that's where it's gonna be. If I need something, a vertices here, it's gonna be there.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I figured that was probably some of your reasoning. I just wanted to hear it from you exactly. Your thought process was what were you thinking when you were when you went to Gravity Sketch, and what was that logic? But I mean, that makes so much sense, and that's often why I jump to it as well. I mean, I was telling you a little bit earlier. I'm working on redesigning some parts for a bike, and I could definitely do that in many other 3D packages, but there's something about being in VR, working over top of some CAD in real, in life size, and seeing how it might actually look when it's fabricated. And that's just something you can't get with other programs.
There's also a fun factor to it.
Yeah, it's also fun.
I've been drawing for so long, and it's like doing what I, I just, every time there is a project coming up, I just find excuse to jump in VR. Because it's fun. It's just as simple as that. But of course, you can do it in every software.
Right.
ZBrush, for example, why not? Right. But sometimes you have to work with what you know. I don't know ZBrush, to be honest. Basically, Gravity Sketch kind of replaces this lack of ZBrush for me.
Gotcha.
Something about its simplicity that I really like. I'm very if UI sucks, I can't use the program. It's fortunately Gravity Sketch is really strong, UI.
Well, that's just
simple.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think has drawn a lot of people to it. Is it kind of brings the fun back into working in 3D. I mean, you don't really even know. I think oftentimes you're in it and you don't really know. I mean, obviously you do know you're working in 3D, right? It's a digital 3D program, but you forget that you're using a 3D software and you're just pulling things around and manipulating things, and it's fun. And at least that's how I felt when I was getting into it in early on in the beginning. I was like, this is actually amazing. It's easy to use. I get crazy results, and it's fun. It's like, it's kind of feels like there should be something wrong, but it's not. Somebody asked as well, how much did you have to learn Gravity Sketch before using it for concept art? Was it right away, or did it take a lot of experimenting and tutorials at first? So what was your process of learning it?
Oh, my process of learning. I started last year, right? I remember my first post was January 2020-ish. So I started very simple. Unfortunately, I didn't post it here, but believe me, I just started with a very simple study. It was a tank, and then the second piece was airplane, and then I just knew where I wanted to bring it. So when you're starting out, try not to design. Just make it. The thing is, one really great advice that I got from my mentor is confidence is very important for designers, because we always think oh my God, I suck. This is horrible and everything. So you're kind of finding your inner doubts. I don't know if that's the word, but confidence is very important. So by having by achieving little goals that you set for yourself, you will gain confidence. So when you're starting out, try not to design, just do studies. And then okay, I can do this. You get familiar with the tool, And then, okay, what about I try a little bit of design? And then you go, higher and higher to
Yeah,
more complex things. And then you learn and, but having that confidence is important. Because if I was like frustrated with
absolutely.
Gravity Sketch or VR from day one, I don't think I would do I don't think I would just abandon it. It's like, no, this is not for me. But, you know, just tone your ego down when you're starting out. It's just like with another analogy is like fitness or sport, right? Just don't tone your ego down. Don't start with super heavy weight. Just do what you can,
Yeah,
and then once you get the muscle, you challenge yourself. So that's how you start.
it's a really, really, really good piece of advice there. I have some firsthand experience with some things like that. I mean, obviously, like you want to apply it to everything, and I totally relate with that, and just definitely want to like highlight that for sure. Anybody that's listening, it's so true. Um, well, thank you so much, Min, for like sharing about that project and your whole process and kind of the story behind that. It's just super cool. Again, if anybody's kind of just joining or seeing some of this, I'll be linking, I'll be adding more links to the actual people that have been building this, as well as the Kickstarter and some of the videos and everything, so you can all check it out. But I want to ask you, Min, is there anything that you're working on next that you want people to be aware of or follow or anything?
Yeah. I
Go
I
follow Min
guess
at Artstation Instagram.
this yeah, you can follow me on Artstation or Instagram minguen.art.
Yeah,
This year I'll be focusing on more mini projects. So I collaborating with big, medium, small team.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we're building like a mini series that, hopefully is going to be useful for artists.
Yeah,
Um, I'll share it later once it's done. But
very
other
cool.
than that, really, my goal is just continue to do what I do,
Yeah,
um, and try to actually. I'm building sort of like relationship with a better relationship with this Fury and Eat Arts Foundation, and hopefully I'll be able to design like robots like for real. In because they approached me and
yeah.
it's like, hey man, we have this like helicopter. We have this like we have a
Man,
cockpit of Eurocopter just laying there in our warehouse. So can you design something, you know, some Mech that involves that so we can kind of reuse it? I was like, heck yeah.
the
I just need to
floodgates,
find
the floodgates are open now.
I just
So,
need to find time, man. It's like this because I also it's always like trying to find balance,
yeah,
between your commercial work and then is something that you're really passionate about.
yeah,
It's not that I don't like doing commercial work, but we're not, I'm not a monk. You need money to do you need money to do what you want to do.
yeah. That's true.
you know
That's definitely true, and it's really nice when what you want to do, what you're passionate about, also pays well. So it's like kind of the ultimate combo there.
I guess I got it because I got that thinking because I grew up in a very small city
Hmm.
with zero opportunities. So when I came to Canada, I was surprised to see like people are so like some people who work in the industry like are so jaded. I was like, why? You
Yeah.
know,
Huh.
you get to work on films and TV shows. Yeah, it's still a job, but at the same time, it's like you don't.
It's
You
like you're
know,
designing robots. You're designing like spaceships. How can you be mad about that?
yeah, because I know how it feels like
Yeah.
to like dream to have the opportunity. So what I did is I was fortunate to traveled the world and decided to land to Canada and just to find the opportunities here. Like, the Mech thing, the whole story is like, I don't think if I wasn't here, it wouldn't happen. It would be someone else.
You could almost say, I
Um,
mean, it was really kind of meant to be. I mean, just the fact that you were saying you were living right next to, you know, where you saw the robot outside your window, and I mean, you're living there now. It's just there's a you know there's a destiny thing going on here. So, and the fact that it was a passion from a young age, it just yeah, it's just super cool. Well, I just want to thank you, Min. I want to ask you one last question here before we kind of wrap it up. And this is something I've been asking just all of our
mhm.
guests lately. But and I'll also say that you did drop a nice piece of knowledge earlier. But I want to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom or advice for any of the designers or artists that are watching now and will be watching this later? Anything that you've learned
Oh my
in your
God.
career thus far?
Don't think I qualify for that, but what I can say is really, um, I don't know, really. Just try to surround yourself with people who are just as passionate as you, or kind of will affect you.
Hmm.
If you don't find, that passion, just try to surround yourself with people like that.
Yeah.
And stay away from jaded people, I guess, because it can affect you,
Yeah.
especially if you're just starting out, or
Yeah.
and don't be settled on one thing. I guess, like, for a long time I thought doing environment concept art is my thing, because it's like with, I say, maybe like actors, sometimes actors will just stick with one thing and because they think that that's what they're good at, but never really moving on or kind of challenging yourself with
Mm.
more things. I guess nothing is set in stone.
Yeah.
So just try different things and just try to find something that brings you joy. And, in my case, it's, switching tools, like from traditional 2D, 3D to VR. So I find a lot of joy in doing it. So,
Yeah.
um, man, there's a bunch of
Yeah.
things I can say, but I mean, seriously, just did and uh, I guess, like, don't uh, just drawing is just one of the problems that you'll have to solve. There is more to it, like, be professional
Yeah.
is another thing.
You're talking about like just
Um,
hard skills versus just like relational professional
yeah,
skills.
yeah. I'm fortunate to have returning clients coming back because of the way I work, because of, like, yeah, okay, this guy's reliable, and he delivers. Um, it's it's I find it's also important, something that school doesn't teach you. You
Hmm.
can go to art school and they'll just teach you how to draw, but there's more to it.
Yeah.
Just being good at what just drawing. It's just that's a small portion, not small, but it's important, yes, for sure. But there's more to it.
Yeah.
It's like the reason why certain people get recommended because of, like, the personality and things like that. So
Yeah.
don't ignore that.
Yeah. That's a really really great piece of advice. I mean, it's kind of amazing how huge that of a deal that is, in the real world. I mean, it hasn't been very long since I've been out of school, and I mean, it was mainly focused on the hard skills.
Right?
I think we maybe did have like a professionalism course or something, but definitely not enough emphasis on that. And that's a really great, really really great point there. And yeah, and surround yourself with people that will elevate you and make you want to be better is yeah, it's super super important. And yeah, thank you for sharing those. It's um, great advice, and anyone listening, definitely listen up for sure. Well, I just want to thank you, Min, for joining again and sharing your work. It was really cool to hear like the story behind sort of how you got to where you are now, and then obviously looking at the Mech project and seeing the passion behind that is really cool. So
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
yeah, absolutely. So if anybody watching, if you're just now joining, I'll say it again, go follow Min on his Instagram, on Artstation, and we'll also link to more of the Mech, the company that's making the Mechs, their Kickstarter and everything, and so you can see what that's all about as well. But thank you very much for watching, everyone. And another thing I'll say too is if you missed the beginning, this will be available as soon as it's over. You can go watch it from the beginning. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Min.
Thanks. Have a good day.
See you later, everyone.
See you.